Welcome to the Access to Innovators podcast, powered by the premier life skills university, High Point University.
Hi everyone, my name is Emmi Yates. I am a senior here at HPU studying data analytics and statistics with minors in psychology and mathematics. I'm here with Teena Piccione, Global Transformation and Operations Executive at Google and High Point University's Data Expert in Residence. Teena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. This is the highlight of my year, I can assure you.
Oh, good. Just to get us started, would you like to give us a quick glimpse of what you do at Google day to day?
Sure. So my job is I have a team of product managers, project managers, engineering, hardware and software, and data analytics. So part of what my job is we run over 275 projects and programs inside of Google that run all the way across Google. And we're able to bring it together to make it effortless for all of the different people in all the different divisions of Google. We support everything that Google runs.
Wow, okay, that's a lot. So I know you have a lot of projects, but do you have one that might be the most impactful experience or project that you've had the opportunity to work on in your career?
In my whole career, there's been many. So everything from AT&T of bringing the iPhone to market. That'll back me up and date me. However, it hasn't been that long for those who don't know. As well as when you look at Google, it's bringing our AI technology to the forefront and being able to test for how that is going to be and how the user is going to experience. So I've had a lot of fun in my career of being instrumental in a lot of different programs and projects and bringing them to market.
I would love to know if you have a particularly challenging project that you've worked on and how you navigated any of those challenges that arose.
Oh, there is so many and so many fails that become epic successes, but we sometimes have to fall down along the way. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. When I was at AT&T, I worked on one and I had a brilliant plan. It was for the largest retailer. So you can use your imagination as to who that was. And we were coding in two different areas of the country. So one in New Jersey and a team in Plano, Texas. The one thing that I failed to have them do is communicate. So what I didn't know was they actually coded in two different languages. So when I had the brilliant idea, we could shave our time in half if they coded and then bring it together. The one thing I failed to realize is the two coding languages could not coexist, nor could they be combined. So we had to start over, and the project was deemed an epic fail. However, we did manage to survive it. We managed to come out of it, and we managed to do it, but it was not effortless. And I had to go apologize to not only the customer, but also to AT&T. So as you can imagine, it was one of those epic fails that we did manage to find our way and claw our way out of. But at the time, it was probably one of our most epic fails and one in my career that I've never forgotten.
At HPU, we believe mentorship matters. Is there an individual who has strongly impacted your career path, maybe a teacher or a family member?
Well, you're going to laugh. I always say, and this is where, again, this is, the editing team, mentorship may matter, but fire your mentors and get a board of directors, meaning you need more than one mentor. And the reason I say that is every person you interact with has a different piece of advice and a different part that they can bring. So think of companies. We have board of directors. We have some that work in data. We have some in security. We have some that work in the people aspects of it. So when you're building your mentors, have that mentality of a board of directors. Have somebody that's going to be a cheerleader, because we all need that in our career, because we're not always going to get to the path that we think we should have. Then you want to build in your mentorship one that's going to give you hard advice and may be advice you may not want to hear. And then you're going to also want to have somebody that's just going to be data and fact. They're going to look at it from, here's the aspects of your problem, here's where you need to go in your career, and here's how to get there. So you're going to have to create that board of directors. So I actually have created a board of directors, and I've always had them in my career. So when I think back to even starting in third grade, there was Mrs. Tidwell, who actually taught me how to raise chickens. And I didn't know there was a whole big thing about raising chickens. But the one thing I learned from her was there are times when not everybody's going to make it, and you have to focus on the ones that can. So you take those nuggets in life and you keep going. My dad was hugely instrumental in my entire career. And he gave me advice that I've never forgotten. If you get up to bat, you're going to have to swing the bat. In life, you're going to have to swing it more than once because you're not always going to make it. Never let them walk you on base. Never find the easiest path, and always try to do something a little bit more that people don't expect. So that was one. He also taught that growing up, you're going to have to be 1 second smarter and 1 second faster than everyone else. And it's a lesson that I haven't forgotten. The other was coming from Coach Red. I ran what I thought was going to be short sprints. I actually came in third in the state of Georgia at the time in high school. But he did not teach me how to run short sprints. He taught me how to run marathons, because he said, unless you know endurance and unless you know how to pace yourself, you're never going to be able to run the short sprints that you're going to need to win. So these are things that as you look at it and you translate it, it was not one person, but it was multiple people. And in your career, you're going to find, and even at High Point University, you're going to need that one professor along with someone else in your life that's going to help mold and shape it. And to this day, I still have a team that I reach out to and say, how do I do this? How do I do that? How am I going to be able to solve this problem? Can you help me here? What do you think? And being able to do it is going to be more well-rounded in your career and make you a better person as you go through that journey.
Earlier, you mentioned that you're working on AI with Google. I was just wondering if you have any concerns regarding the use of AI in the future and the use of data.
Oh, I've always had concerns. I think that with data we have a fiduciary responsibility. And we have to make sure as we look at things that we're doing it without the nefarious backgrounds. That doesn't mean everybody else doesn't have nefarious backgrounds. So if you think about in life, and as with anything else as you look at it, how do we bring the good and how do we minimize what people can do that is not as good? So when you think of data, and I've worked in data my entire career, there are some incredible aspects of data, but you have to think of some of the ways that we have to coach and guard it. Think about HIPAA data. We do it to respect people's privacy. However, if we were able to conjoin all the different data sets in the world from all the different health industries where we can't get to it, imagine how quickly we could solve cancer, or how quickly we could solve Alzheimer's, or how quickly we could solve it. So when you look at the data and the data exchange, how do you figure out what's going to matter and what you can do, or what you have to anonymize, make it blind to still get the results you need and be able to go forth? When you think about AI taking on the world, AI is going to enable things that we haven't been able to do in the past, and it's going to enable us to do things a bit faster. It doesn't mean that it's going to take away from the things that matter most, which is how do you control the data? How are you able to look at data and pull the analytics out that's going to matter? And I'm going to give you an example. We were working at AT&T, and the data scientists, we were working on it with a shipping company. Now, I'll never forget, the data scientist said, here's exactly the information you need. But what was unique and what they brought, which is the same thing AI could have told me, was what the data looked like from a different perspective or a different lens. And that was, hey, they could save $3.5 million in fuel cost if they stayed in the shipping lanes. Wasn't the question we ask, wasn't the question if you ask AI that it's going to give you an output of what you ask. We need people that can think out of the box. We need people that can step on a box. We need people that can put a box away and say, how are we going to be able to do this differently? How do we look at problems differently? AI can give us a start, but it can't complete the sentence. So I'm going to give you another example. Think about resume writing. I can put everything into an AI tool, and it's going to effortlessly put out my resume. But it's not going to give the energy, the passion, and the excitement that I feel or that I bring. It's not going to tell you that she can code, but she can also translate that coding. She's able to bring the business and the analytics together. That's not going to be spit out from a tool. And in case you ask, I have tried. It has not been effortless. Has it given me ideas? Absolutely. Has it been perfect? No. Do I think it's going to get perfect? No. So we have to use what we are given the greatest thing, and that's our brains, and that's being able to continuously learn for how we can do things differently.
HPU is a premier life skills university. What skills and characteristics do you think are essential for successful leadership?
When I look at successful leadership, you have to bring passion. You have to bring energy. You have to bring excitement. You have to be able to articulate, to be able to sit across from each other and have a conversation, to be able to look at each other and to be able to say what you think. That is what High Point is bringing. They're bringing the life skills that are missing in many universities. So when you think about it, you're able to have dinner with people. You're able to sit down and have a meal and have a conversation at the same time. That's a unique skill that not everybody has. You're able to also, as you think about it, go from class to class and to be able to bring a piece of each of those classes together to be more well-rounded, to be unique, to be able to stand up in front of class and be able to talk. You don't always get that in a lecture hall of 500 students. You don't have that grace to be able to say, here's what I thought when I was looking at this case study from a different perspective. So having all of that is what makes High Point unique, and having that opportunity. It is the most beautiful campus in the world, and trust me, I have been to all of the campuses. I don't care if it's Stanford, if it's, any other Elon, I can name campus after campus. This has a unique perspective that gives you the grace of saying, how can I achieve more? How can I do more? And how can I turn around and give back more?
I have a couple more questions about
go
leadership
for it.
because this, being a woman, how do you feel like you can balance femininity and leadership?
Oh, easy. I am one that never, people always tell me what to wear, how to wear it, what to do, what to say. I am unique in what I bring, and I don't always listen to everyone. And I bring that uniqueness. I am one that if I'm wearing a pair of jeans, I am still wearing a shiny pen and a fun jacket, because that's part of my uniqueness that I bring. I may wear cowboy boots, but they're going to have rhinestones on them. It's part of the uniqueness that I can bring, because I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to bring the best of what I am to show up for where I'm at. So I still bring the femininity everywhere I go. I still have that piece of it. I have a unique capability that I am able to compartmentalize and block things and deal with problems at hand, which is a unique skill, and be able to deal with emotions later. It's one I've had to learn over time. It's not one that shows up right away. And it's one that I've had to hone a uniqueness of. But I still bring it every day. I still wear my shiny earrings, my shiny bracelets, because we all have shiny object syndrome. So we have to be able to articulate how to do it and be able to have that unique style and skill.
Have you ever felt like what society defines leadership as needed to be redefined?
I think we're always going through that. I think that there are some characteristics, though, that go all the way back to great leaders that sometimes we miss. If you think about Abraham Lincoln, the one thing he always said was, you've got to walk among the troops. You've got to be able to understand what your teams are doing. And you've got to be able to walk a mile in their shoes. You've got to be able to understand their perspective, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. So you've got to be able to bring that into your leadership. You've got to be able to also rise above some of the noise and be able to make decisions irregardless of all of the noise around you. Because when everything is going wrong, they're looking to you to solve it. And you're going to have that leadership. You have to bring excitement. You also have to give them something they can believe in order to have a cause. So think about it. We are humans that love causes. I don't care what it is in this world. If you show up with a cause, we're going to follow. So you've got to be able to give someone a unique perspective and cause that they can follow, and then turn around and they'll want to work for you and go anywhere you go, because you're going to be able to give that to them. You're going to give them a uniqueness that they can't get anywhere else. And you're going to be able to articulate it, and then you're going to hold them accountable. We actually do like boundaries and borders. And I think having some of that as well makes a unique leader, because they're letting people have that innovative spirit, but they're also ensuring they're not flying off a cliff. So how do you have that balance? And part of that's a unique skill in leadership.
It's very interesting. Thank you. Just one more thing before we wrap it up. What is one piece of advice you'd like to give aspiring data professionals?
One piece of advice is, when you look at data, figure out what's unique about it and figure out how to message it, because it's not going to always be what you see on a piece of paper that's unique. You've got to be able to find that single diamond sitting there that you can explain that's more unique than anything else. You've got to be able to understand and explain the data in such a way that no one else can. And you've got to be able, when you're looking at it, to articulate it to where everybody can consume it, whether they are 12 years old or whether they are 95. And the reason I say that is, think about it this way. When you look at data, your audience, a lot of times, if you're gaming, you're all the way down to 8 years old or 12 years old. So how are you going to explain it to someone who is gaming versus a 90-year-old grandmother who is trying to figure out how to utilize their iPhone with all the data that is coming at it? And if you're an executive and you look at a spreadsheet, what is it going to tell you? You need someone to translate it in such a way that's going to be unique. So while I geek out on data, look, AT&T had more data than you can fathom. And I love data. But unless you're able to tell the story and why it's unique, it doesn't matter what the data is. It's not going to do you any good. You have to be able to explain what it is, how to utilize it, and then what you can do with it and the art of possible. Because if you can't do that, having all the data in the world isn't going to matter. Everybody can get that. It's the uniqueness that you bring and the uniqueness as you come out of it. That's what's going to differentiate you. And that's what you've got to have as your sweet spot along the way.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Teena. And thank you so much for joining our Access to Innovators podcast.